Ndibulise program directors, MECs of Agriculture and Rural Development and Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in our province, the Honorable Premier KZN, the Minister of Transport in the Republic, Jola, members of the Executive Council of KwaZulu-Natal, leaders of the legislature of KwaZulu-Natal in our midst, led by the Deputy Chief Whip, the leadership of the governing party in KwaZulu-Natal, the African National Congress, the chosen political home of Honorable Ntuli, led by the Deputy Chairperson together with the Secretary, the leadership of Umhlatuzi and the leadership of King Cetshwayo, Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Babu Jula, Magodida Mahle, besinazi ke thina lapha esishaya mthetho ngokuthini ngamazimu abantu abathanda inyama, ikhaya lonke lakwaMphemba nekhaya lakwaZulu, kakhulukazi icawe ebegqiba kusuka apha elidwa ngu-Archbishop Eric Ntuli, who is also the ward councillor of Ward 12, if I'm clear, in Umtubatuba. Ndiyanibulisa. Special greetings go to the love of Mphemba's life. Besisithi xa sithetha no Mphemba, sithi, wherever you are, Sisi, strength to you. Because of time, we will try to gallop. It is my singular honor that I stand here today to pay a brief tribute to a member of the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal that, since I have known, started working in the legislature before I even became the member in 2014, has been sitting in the senior benches of the governing party. My apologies, Makhuza Moizela, Mngani, fellow compatriot who was in the trenches with Mphemba, former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. Mphemba has always been in the senior benches of the governing party in the legislature of KwaZulu-Natal, leading not only his benches because of seniority, but he had a seniority that transcended across all party caucuses in the House, including his enemies, as they were said by the Honorable Chief Whip of the official opposition, Ubabumbu Ukwala. He was always there, committed to his work to serve all of us as the people of KwaZulu-Natal, and dedicated his time into bringing into life that objective that was conceived many years before we became the members of the legislature, of having KwaZulu-Natal as an activist, people-centered legislature. In doing his work, did not only want to focus on legality and compliance, he was also more focused on impact. How the legislations and the services that were delivered by the government impacting on the people on the ground. He did this by never imposing himself and his experience, but being able to serve, represent, listen, interact, and then smile at the end. It was always difficult to tell the mood of Honorable Mphemba, because he would smile even when he was literally dying inside. The only time in my recollection, Bantwana baka Mphemba, that I recall your father ever showing a different face was one day when we were in Upongolo in a Freedom Day celebration, when Inkosi Yesizwe Sakwanchangase was narrating the life in the struggle that has been faced by the Ntuli family and the Mchunu family. That is the only time that in the face of the legislature, he's shown that deeply he still feels the pain of the passing of all his comrades. But he hid it very well by contributing to change lives, especially lives of the young people in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. He led the way in ensuring that when we came to the legislature, we are not intimidated by his stature and also his age, but by ensuring that he is welcoming us and showing us the way. This has been demonstrated by the tributes that we receive even from the opposition benches to show that he was indeed a unifier, a mediator, but above all, he was a leader. You will remember how he would rise when there are conflicts and mediate. What comes to my mind always, the IFP and the ANC, and how he measured, with his measured leadership, worked with the leadership of the IFP in the caucus to ensure that we continue to have a proper city. But as an impact-driven legislator, he was and will always be remembered by the role that he played in ensuring that the AOP of the Community Safety Portfolio Committee was implemented and also in line with all the prescripts, because he knew that any governance environment that does not respect its own systems is going to be weakened and rendered ineffective. He consulted. If you want to remember his role during the infightings about the border crime in the Manguzi area between South Africa and Mozambique. He was the leader of the chairperson, of the committee that was dealing with that and did public participation. But he was also shown his leadership by listening to people that were raising issues of service delivery. I want to mention his intervention between the communities of Kwahlabisa, Vryheid, and recently the Umthwalume with the Hibadin police stations and the Vryheid and Hlabisa police stations. That was Mpemba as a leader. Impela, thina njengesishaya mthetho silahlekelwe. Kodwa ke iqiniso lithi abantu abalahlekelwe kakhulu yinina mndeni wakwaNtuli. Nilahlekelwe ngubaba, nilahlekelwe ngumkhulu, uMaZulu ulahlekelwe ngumkhwenyana. Abanye balahlekelwe indodana nomfowabo. But the only way to remember and honor him is to continue doing his work. I want to thank the governing party because in some areas of deployment politically, I have worked with him. I know the role that his kids have been taught to play in bringing about social justice and transformation. If there is anything that I want to say to you, my children, if there is anything that I want to leave with you is that do not shake the foundations that your father built that family upon. Never shake them. The words that were spoken by Induna in Pumanyova in January 31, 2019 are what I will measure all of you. Umasandi lunge, go and tell them what you said about you and your siblings, and what you will do for bringing justice to all the downtrodden, those that lack access. You promise that you will live to do that beyond the life of your father. I will hold you to that. I want to say to you, Mazulu, be well, my sister. Be well, my sister. Remember your husband. But also, know that no man-made wars and those funded by the apartheid could ever take the life of Comrade Bheki. It has to be another force that could take him. And for that, you will rise, you will defeat that force that has taken your husband. You will come back, be with your family, and lead your kids. Stay strong. Hamba kahle kodide ndlela kaSompisi. Siyazi ukuthi umusa wakho owaziwa ngabantu abasha owasithintayo ngo-2006 siselower South Coast umusa wakho, and that is known by the families of KwaNongoma, your constituency, by the people of Far North, Zululand, and the entire province. Uzoqhubeka, usenzeka, because the foundations are with your kids. Rest now, my brother. We will see you in the morning.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. We'll just go straight to invite Minister of Transport, Minister Malula, to also
thank you, Program Director. To the bereaved family, ngempela baba silimele, kodwa sithi akuhlanga lungahlanga. Rejoice because you are not alone in this pain. To the provincial government, led by Comrade Esikhaleni, the Premier, and the entire cabinet of the province, we passing our salutations to you for the departure of your colleague and comrade, Comrade Bheki. To the African National Congress leadership and our entire movement and organization, we have lost a servant of the people, a comrade and a revolutionary. To the veteran, former premier of this province, siyabulela bubukho bakho usiqinisa kulomba. Comrades, officials of government, led here today in the official funeral by the South African Police Service, General Jula, and all other officers of the law present here today. On behalf of myself and the national government, led by the President of the Republic, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, we are here today to pay tribute to a loyal servant of our people. To the media in general, thank you for giving space and platform to populate and inform South Africans about this gallant fighter, not to be forgotten. To the children of Comrade Bheki, in particular, your father was a hero. Draw solace from that knowledge that among many scoundrels a nation can produce, your father became one servant of the people. In paying tribute to a gallant revolutionary of Comrade Bheki Ntuli's caliber, we cannot avoid reflecting on the values of our society and movement. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves the hard questions. This must elicit honest answers as to our individual roles in eroding the values our democracy is founded on, the values our glorious movement is built on, and the moral fiber of our society. Once we were comrades until we become comrades. The title Comrade and resilience of our struggle to realize a truly emancipated society. It embodies the sacrifices made by those who came before us, whose blood nourished the tree that bore the fruits of freedom. It embodies the timeless values that underpinned our liberation struggle for decades. The values of selflessness, service to the people, dedication to the cause of liberating our people from all forms of oppression, including poverty. The title means we must internalize these values, which must find expression in how we treat others. Being comrades means we are each other's keeper. A progressive philosophical and ideological outlook are important tenets of the spirit of comradeship that is rooted in our national value as a people. The conduct of oneself with honor and integrity is the hallmark of a true compatriot who has earned the title of comrade through his or her actions. And such was Comrade Bheki. The ability to harness one's deeds and channel one's energy towards the realization of economic, cultural, and social emancipation of our people is a true measure. A strong desire for an unshakable belief in the value of life, humanity, and justice is an invaluable characteristic of a comrade. Being a comrade demands of one to be principled, such that one can denounce wrongdoing without fear or favor. Such was Comrade Bheki. The fundamental lesson we must learn from Comrade Bheki's life is that principle is sacrosanct, and we must not liberally bestow this progressive title of comrade to charlatans and acquaintances who pretend to be comrades. Like Comrade Ntuli, this title is earned in the trenches, in the workplaces, and in the daily struggles of the poorest of the poor by those who put the people first. The title comrade must go with the recognition that he or she who is called a comrade is capable of empathizing, of acting in the best interest of the majority, of sacrificing, of advancing a struggle to liberate the people from all forms of oppression. Such was Comrade Bheki. Corrupt people are not comrades. They treat the poor with disdain. They are preoccupied with advancing their narrow self-serving interests at the expense of the poor. Factionalists are not comrades, for they divide the people using pettiness and narrow interest. Both don't believe in human solidarity, a key characteristic of being a comrade. They are in fact as counter-revolutionary as the incompetent anarchists and the murderers. Just as well, those who divide us racially and ethnically can't legitimately lay claim to the honor of being called comrade. So next time you use the title comrade, think again. Ask yourself, am I capable of joining you, or our union will end with slogans and single malls? A fundamental principle is that the power belongs to the people. Leaders are elected to represent the people and to implement their mandate. Such was Comrade Bheki. We must always seek to build democratic structures that can develop people's capacity to tackle their own problems, as well as building their will and understanding to engage further in solving their challenges and making the world more equal and just. A true leader and disciplined comrade confronts and defeats the enemy within, fear and the acceptance of the status quo. A people who have no understanding of their power to change the world are easily manipulated and misled. The ANC needs an activist membership, cadres who understand their own power and influence. Our society needs people like Comrade Bheki and the ability of the masses through collective willpower to build an emancipated society. We must build consciousness that ensures the kind of thinking that ignites a forward momentum at all times. As we conclude, Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher, once wrote, "Go to the people, live with them, learn from them, love them. Start with what they know, build with what they have. But with the best leaders, when the work is done, the task accomplished, the people will say, we have done this ourselves." This is the legacy Comrade Bheki Ntuli has bequeathed us. We must build on it and complete the task of delivering a better life for the people Bheki Ntuli stood for throughout his life. He was one with the people and he never wavered in his dedication. I thank you.
Thank you. Sicela ukuthi siphakamise undunankulu sihloniphe KZN.
Siyabonga. Siyabonga ngenxa yesimo. Program Director, the Ntuli family, fellow comrades who represent government nationally, provincially and locally, all MECs, ANC leadership, the leadership of the official opposition, ihonga, ukhulumeli ihonga izithaika Mpemba, the alliance and all. We have I think we have less than 20 minutes to leave. And therefore, allow me to just summarize so that we, who also make law, will always adhere to it. The fateful evening of January the 16th compels us to believe the unbelievable, to say what is difficult to say as we bid farewell to this great giant of our revolution, MEC Ntuli. We still find it difficult to accept that he is no more. It is difficult to say that an ever-jovial, energetic, and passionate servant of the people is no more. To say Mpemba is no more, akushokeki. And one wishes it was but a dream that would be woken up from. How to believe that a person who is always everywhere, the province, serving the people who are traumatized by accidents is no more? How to believe that someone who is always there to deal with crime and violence is no more? How to believe that someone whose presence and warmth was felt even in solemn moments is no more? How to say goodbye to someone who was able to comfort and trigger laugh during the sad moment of grief is no more. Though it is not easy and it is unbelievable, we say farewell to Comrade Mpemba, Honorable Ntuli. We say fare thy well, Bheki Ntuli. Describing today's new normal, where friends and comrades cannot join in singing, where communities cannot risk sharing tears in flesh, KwaZulu-Natal-born poet Sandile Ngidi recently captured this unimaginable pain and trauma of our epoch, where he wrote, and I quote, "The stubborn heaviness in our shoulders, the bloodshot eyes, now we know our lives are being irrevocably torn apart. Those who are ill, dying, and dead are family members and their names. Family, friends, beloved ones, death is no longer a metaphor. The nightmare, and the nightmare, close quote. The reality of this nightmare has struck closer home. It has robbed our nation of a modern day savior as a gift from the ancestors. And so, with heavy heart, we are gathered here to say farewell to MEC Ntuli. To Ntuli family and the Zulu family, the pain you're going through is unbearable. We dip our banners and salute MEC Ntuli for his contribution. We wish you to heal. Just over a year, these fallen patriots and the Ntuli family were burying a bone of their bones, of their flesh, their son, uNkululeko. Bomphemba, uNkulunkulu aniqinise. Amenani, siyazi ukuthi kunzima kini. To our glorious movement, the African National Congress, and to our government, this is a double blow. It is made severe by the fact that on the very same day Comrade Mpemba passed on, we had buried Mama Uthandi Cecilia Memela. But it is also known that recently we lost to Comrades Ricardo Mthembu and we lost to Comrade. In Pemba, the province has lost a dedicated, devoted, and a humble servant of the despised and the downtrodden. We have lost a peace ambassador and a champion of the poor and the working class who put the people first in the implementation of service delivery. Like Chief Albert Luthuli, he knew that the road ahead to freedom via the cross. He accepted that he could not call himself a freedom fighter if he himself was not prepared to die for that. In his life, he became an epitome and a personification of forgiveness. Each day, his big, magnanimous heart was strengthened and he remained focused on passion to escape a seed of hatred and a conflict in our province. Mpemba lived forgiveness, and this made him to live freely and free of any burden of hatred. If Mpemba kunento ile kubantu bonke, uxolela. Xolele wonke umuntu, axolele ngaphakathi kombutho, axolele labo even abamone ngaphandle. But Mpemba was a revolutionary. He surrendered his being into the revolution. He then became the epitome of what Fidel Castro defined when he said, a revolution is not a bed of roses. A revolution is a struggle between the future and the past. Close quote. Mpemba knew the past, but he said, let us build on that for the future. He also embraced the words of Che Guevara, where he said, the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolution lacking this quality. Mpemba had love for all his comrades. He loved those who are with him. He loved even abantu ahlangana nabo. Mpemba surrendered himself to the liberation struggle. Through his passion and dedication, he carried all tasks assigned to him with great passion and dedication. As part of workers' struggle, he became one of the outstanding and committed shop steward of the Metal and Allied Workers Union. As part of the ANC, Comrade Mpemba was always assigned to the most difficult task and the most challenging task which he always executed diligently and without complaining. When the ANC was unbanned and it deployed Comrade Willis Mchunu to lead the establishment of the ANC structures and eventually launched the Northern Natal region, had the bad legacy because of me. The last person who died was a Ntuli person. They killed him even though he was an Inkatha member, but they killed him because of me. But after that, Comrade Mpemba knew that there must be reconciliation. In very same presentation, he went further to say, as I quote, "What I will ask you to do is something which is not for me personally. It is something for everyone who was affected because of political violence. Some people from the IFP were tortured because even the ANC members also protected themselves by attacking the IFP members. So everyone was affected," close quote. This is what Mpemba said, presenting to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, surrendering and making a point that it is not about himself, but it is about the people who needed to be reconciled and live together. Undeterred by the painful events visited upon his family, Mpemba continued his noble fight for the liberation of the country from oppression and repression. Since 1996, Comrade Mpemba worked for peace in KwaZulu-Natal. He was part of ANC structures in 1996 that were part of the peace and stability. Now, in one, I'm sure Comrade Ndiema and Comrade Matingwane, you will remember, in one of the early 2000s, PGC, Comrade Bundebele, the former premier, said, "Aw, kuyaqala ke lokho. Kube ne commission ye peace and stability. Mpemba ngayi kuyo, kuyaqala nga." That was the role kaMpemba in peace and stability. And since then, he was assigned to lead the peace and stability. It was in the same PEC where the very same former premier said, "Aw, Mpemba usaphatha icomputer kuyaqala." And moving, Comrade Mpemba played a critical role. But Comrade Mpemba was an organizer. He could penetrate areas where there were no structures of the ANC, establish structures of the ANC, and ensure that the structures of the ANC are functional, even in areas where it's difficult. But in doing so, he had also yet to bear the brutality that will be directed to those comrades. And Mpemba will always say, "Hey, nithangiye kokwakha laba abantu babe kwi-structure. Manje sebeyashawa. Sengisele ngedwa kulolu daba. Babe mbalwa ababa naye. But yena angabashiyi labo bantu bebodwa. Abe nabo even nangaleso sikhathi." For Mpemba, the struggle was not positions, but the service to the movement and the people. He never fought for position. Despite being the regional chairperson, he accepted not being sent to the legislature or parliament, but he remained in the movement in 1994. Comrade Mpemba, umakiwe legislature ngo-94, wavuma ukuthi hayi akahamba ama-comrades. But wangathi mina ngusihlalo, angibe wokuqala ukuye legislature noma ukuye parliament. But even after he was assigned to be in parliament, he didn't want positions. He started serving in portfolio committees, and he served as the chair of the portfolio committee until he became the MEC. As the chairperson of the portfolio committee, he crisscrossed the length and breadth of the province, assisting in building peace and stability. Unbeknown that he will end up being the MEC, Mpemba was always emphatic on principle of Batupile. Having been assigned as the MEC to work as a champion in Zululand, he led the functionality and ensured that Operation Sukumasake becomes instrumental in driving development in Zululand. He has been working as the MEC instrumental in building physical bridges that link families and villages that were once political enemies. One of the projects they've started is that of partnering with the SANDF to build bridges, especially for poor children in rural areas. The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has lost a seasoned cadre who exceptionally led in peace and stability for more than 20 years. As the MEC, he was a crime fighter par excellence, involved in dealing and reducing the levels of crime, political killings, and taxi violence that threaten to derail investment or investor confidence in KwaZulu-Natal. He crisscrossed the country, including going to hostels in Gauteng, fighting to ensure that he built unity. He worked with all political parties in the multi-party political intervention committee in the legislature. We can say it with no hesitation and with no fear of contradiction that Mpemba was always seized with the question of unity, stability, and development of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. He had a special relationship he developed with stakeholders. He developed a good relationship with traditional leaders. He developed a good relationship with the religious leaders. All stakeholders can attest that he worked with them in a manner that showed respect and trust. He was always consulting. When he became the MEC, he didn't say the former MEC, who is now the mayor of eThekwini, is younger than him. But he went to him and asked him to orientate him about the work of the department. When he became the MEC, he also ensured that he continues with consulting, including going to former MECs who were there before. And he didn't say that his role was to eradicate the legacy of his predecessors. We will want to surrender. Although Mpemba was older than many of us in government and in the ANC, he was always humble and welcoming. He could never use his seniority or struggle credentials for self-achievement or self-benefit. In him, we have lost a principled comrade, a caring brother that we could trust, a brother that we could confide in and seek advices. Our people have lost an avowed opponent of patriarchy and gender-based violence. I fully agree with the Women's League in its statement that Comrade Mpemba was always available and leading in front in the fight against gender-based violence. He was working around the clock to reduce crime and gender-based violence in hotspots such as Inanda, KwaMashu, and Pesisleya. He was working in ensuring that he deal with the carnage in our roads. He was at the forefront in the battle against COVID-19. He personally conducted roadblocks to ensure that the road users and commuters adhere to COVID-19 protocols. We will not forget his instrumental role in forging unity and reconciliation among student formations, especially in the University of Zululand. We implore our young people, the student leaders from various institutions, to live to Mpemba's memory by ensuring that all their problems are resolved amicably. His revolutionary love and legacy will always be enacted in our memories, and he will always be with us. Mpemba was a peacemaker at all times. We can only remember him and pay respect to him by ensuring that his legacy is maintained. We can only honor his memory by getting and to ensure that we learn to forgive and reconciliation. We can only honor him by ensuring that we eradicate poverty among our people. Knowing his conviction and his passion for serving our people. If Mpemba was to speak to us here today, he would apologize. He would say, comrades, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I left you at this particular moment. And I'm sorry that I left you with such mountainous task on your shoulders. But you must soldier on. At the break of dawn, we will pick up the spear of you, Comrade Mpemba. Ndlela kaSompisi, you have fought your fight and ran your race. We salute you, and you will always live to inspire us to do good for our people. We're going to forge ahead with the task of liberating our people from the shackles and indignity of poverty and want. We will defy death and bind the wounds of our nation. To heal all, you would have wished us to defy the nightmare of death and water the seed of peace, forgiveness, and love which you planted. Hamba kahle Mkhonto, hamba kahle Mpemba, Bele elihle, wena owaphemba ngebele, abanye bephemba ngezibi. Farewell, Comrade Bheki Ntuli. I thank you, Program Director.
Sahlala phansi. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. We will just invite Reverend PLP Kumete, who has a stage sim shayele ungumhlobo wami Jesu.
Ngumhlobo wami Jesu, uphi ongangayena. Abaningi bayamshiya, ngofubukana mina, angisoze ngahlukana, angisoze ngahlukana.
read from verse 7. Abasekorinte besibili isahluko esika-4 ivesi lika-7. Kepha lengcebo sinayo ezitsheni zebumba ukuze ubukhulu bamandla obukhulu bube ngobukaNkulunkulu bungabi ngobuvela kithi. Siyacindezelwa nxa zonke kodwa asinyinyeki. Siyaxakeka kodwa asidikibali. Siyazingelwa kodwa asidelwa. Siwiswa phansi kodwa asibhushiswa. Abese verse 16 ngicela ukuphetha ngawo. Ngakho asidangali kodwa noma umuntu wethu angaphandle ebhubha owangaphakathi kwenziwa misha imihla ngemihla. Masithandazi. Akasoze angidele wangifela
Calvary.
agasoze angidele wangifela Baba wethu ingcwele nomise wenkosi yethu Kristu Jesu. Emini Jesu sondela kuwe uNkulunkulu wethu ingcwele sikubonga sikuvuma sithi impela kubo bonke oThixo akekho onjengawe uNkulunkulu wethu ikhathi ngekhathi baba wethu ingcwele asikho isikhathi esishintshayo ukuthi wena uNkulunkulu nasemini nje usenguNkulunkulu wethu uNkulunkulu wethu emndenini wakaNtuli noma kunje uNkulunkulu wethu ingcwele uNkulunkulu wabo uzoqhubeka ubathwale uzoqhubeka babambe ngesandla sakho somusa uzoqhubeka ubahole ubaqinise kuze kudlule zonke lezi nhlupheko sikhulekela kumakho oyingcwele ukuba ube nabo ikakhulukazi umama uMazulu ukuba Nkosi uqinise umsekele umuphe ithemba umuphe isibindi nabantwana bazi ukuthi noma sicindezelwa kodwa asiqedwa noma siswa phansi kodwa asibhujiswa ngoba ongakithi mkhulu kunosezweni noma izimo zingaphambana nathi kodwa uNkulunkulu wethu uhleze eseduze kwethu usisake Nkosi inceke yakho manje eza kuwe usibuse sonke esikhona usikhumbuze Nkosi ngalezi zibonakaliso nangezinye ukuthi impela subumba sathabathwa emhlabathini siyakubuyela emhlabathini ngosenza ke Nkosi ekhambeni kwethu ukuthi noma usiphathisile usenze uNkulunkulu wethu ingcwele sikhumbule njalo ukuthi sobuye sibuyele kuwe kubalekile ba umuntu alungisa indaba yakhe noJesu esenganeno kwengcwaba usisa ke Nkosi yonke lenkonzo egameni lwafavuka uJesu Kristu Nkosi yethu ophile busa manje kuze bephakade naphakade amen. Onginika umvuzo omkhulu
Onginika umvuzo omkhulu onginika umvuzo omkhulu
Sibonge kakhulu kumfundisi sesifika ephethelweni kwalwenkonzo kuba siphume siye ukuyobeka umzimba kamfowethu uzodedela ukuba ke uMEC asiphe nje i-announcement ukuthi sizokwenza kanjani ukusuka la sibungele ubambisana okuhle sibe nakho sizokwenza kanjalo ngicela ukuthi ke umfowethu uhlomuka MEC wakhoktha asipheke izimemezelo ezimfushane.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Sacela ukuthi ifamily and only leaders are thindiwe for ukuthi kiwe endlini yokugcina kaMphembe abazoya ngakhona abanye bazosala la kukhona ukudla sizokuthatha mase siqedile sesingakhuleka ngenxa we need to observe ama regulations akufanele sebanike lapha sokuthi sisukumeni sibonge kakhulu ukuthi sihloniphane kakhulu
Siyabonga
bomthetho family unduna nkulu ne leadership speaker
Siyabonga Go to Jesus